Okay, it was the day that started. We were all sitting around. They called and said they were going to have an officers gathering, and that we hadn't had one for quite some time, so we figured something was on. And he came back later, about noon, I guess, and said, "Okay, get ready. We're going to go up north, and we're going to. There's a little village kind of up there, and we're going to clean it out because that's where the Chinese are hiding, and we're going to just clean them out and drive them out." So, okay, whatever. So then we started loading up, and golly, it was a process getting things. Everybody got excited and what have you, and we finally, I don't really know exactly how to do it because we started down the road, and by the time we got started going very far, it was dark. And it was darker than hell, but we were on kind of a trail. And we got a little ways down there, and they said, "Okay, hold up the column." Our brilliant lieutenant had a 6-cell flashlight, and he came back and shined a flashlight in everybody's face. I'm surprised he didn't check everybody's dog tags, because he didn't know us all, but he had to make sure that we were all there. And we kept saying, "Where in the hell are we going to go? There's nothing but rice paddies on both sides." So, okay, anyway, we kept going, and finally everything blew up. And at that point is when my memory went blank. I don't know what happened most of that night. It just was all gone. Like in my story, I said I ran into a bunch of guys. I can remember this. I says, "Have you seen Ski?" He was kind of an older guy. He was a corpsman. And the guy says, "Yeah, I just saw him a little while ago. He was over helping somebody." He says, "Everybody's getting shot, and he's running around. And everybody that he goes to," he says, "his feet look like he'd stepped on a mine or something. They were just big old bloody masses, but he was still going. And he'd get somebody, patch him up, give him a shot of morphine. He'd take out another morphine, give himself a shot, going." And that's the last I saw of him. So, and he made it out of wherever he was at. I don't know. And I can remember daylight coming. I remember we were all in a little clump of trees. And every time I'd move, zing, you could hear the damn bullets going, make their pop, and then zing, it'd go bang, bang. And so everybody was kind of hunkered up, and there was somebody, one of our guys laying out in somewhere, hollering for help. And somebody, I'm not sure who it was, I didn't recognize his voice, kept saying, "Ides, get out there and get that guy." Ides must have been the corpsman. And Ides says, "I can't move. Every time I move, I get shot at. Get your ass out there." And I don't know. Then after a while, everything just went away and the shooting got away. But I guess Ives got out and got that guy. Then we went back and we were in the trench lines. And everybody was talking about what had happened. I think most of my squad was gone. They were all got wounded and were down going to the hospital ship. Lieutenant Alexander, who had been our platoon leader when I first got there, he was the executive officer for the company. He showed up and he says, "I want some volunteers to go out. Lieutenant Marshall is gone." He said, "We've lost him, but Sam knows where he's at, so he's going to lead us out. Anybody want to go?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll go." And there was another guy standing next to me named Melton. He says, "Oh, let me go, I want to go." And Alexander looked at him a little bit and says, "Well, don't take Don because he's got the BAR." Okay. So we took off. And when I read all of the stuff about the thing, there were 7 of us went out. Sam Beatty was the guy to take us back. He had hid the body somewhere. He was leading us, and he got hit a couple of times on the way back out. And Alexander says, "You get your ass back or stay right here." And we went, and then I don't remember anybody else being around. But I remember we were kind of on the edge of the buildings, I guess, and there was a kind of a little hump and a brick wall. And I can remember that real well, and I was kind of hunkered up there.
There's that girl.
And I remember a big tall gook went running by, and I opened up the BAR. And I'm not sure whether this has really actually happened, but it was on my mind for years and years. But the top half fell backwards and the ladies kept going. And that was kind of nerve-shattering. Then the next thing I remember, I was kind of hunkered up behind this little hill, the little bump that we were behind. And of course they were shooting at me. And the terriblest noise, round hit my helmet and knocked it off. Didn't put a hole in it, but it was gone. And then there's a kind of a big long lapse in between that and putting that back on. And so the sequence of some of this gets kind of lost in antiquity, I guess you would call it. But I remember I was looking up in this little kind of wall where I shot this other guy. Probably the tallest gook I ever saw come running down there, and I didn't get a chance to shoot him. But he went over the hill and went out of sight. And I was kind of watching where he went over. Then all of a sudden this big thing started coming up, and I thought, oh, here he's coming back. And I had the trigger about half pulled on the BAR. And the guy stood up and I says, oh my God, that's Smitty, my buddy Smitty. And he ran up and I hollered at him and says, come on over, Smitty. And boy, he was glad to see me come over. And he was just trembling. I said, where in the hell you been? He says, I got lost everything. And he says, I've been hiding in the bushes over there ever since last night. And he says, they've been all over me. He said, I finally had a chance where I thought I could make it. And I says, you want a cigarette? And he says, yeah. And I reached in and got him a cigarette, put it in there. And I tried to light his cigarette and I couldn't catch up with it very well. Finally got it. So, and then I said, okay, when he got all calmed down, I said, get back over there, that's where they are. Go back across the rice paddy into the thing. And I think that's when a little while after he left is when they were going to try to get us out of there, I knew myself and Alexander were still there. They were going to get us out with smoke, but they didn't have any artillery smoke. So they used the Willie Peter, white phosphorus. And boy, you talk about a flash. And Alexander says, he knew I was in the air somewhere. He says, you okay? I said, I don't think so. I'm blind. I can't see anything. Oh, shit. He says, okay, sit still. He says, I'll try to get to you after a while. And I sat there a while, and then pretty quick kind of vision started coming back. And I says, I think I'm going to be okay. I can see again. And I could hear him sighing, and he was a long ways away. Then a little while after that, he says, okay, Don, I got the body. He says, come on over and we'll get there. So I kind of followed his voice, and he was hollering me in. Got over there and up over. And the first thing I could see was Alexander was squatted down, and I could see the body laying there. And the closer I got, his trousers were clear down and his skivvies were clear down around his ankles. And I thought, my first thought was, oh God, they shot him, cut him, stuffed his privates in his mouth like some of the Orientals do and some of the Indians did. I got over there and that was not correct, so that made me feel a little bit better. So Alex says, okay. He says, sit still. And he stood up, went over to the body, and small arms is just going bang, bang, bang. I don't know. He pulled his skivvies up, buttoned them back up, pulled up his trousers, brought his dungaree jacket down, tucked it all in, cinched it up like he would normally, laid him there, and he says, okay, Don, we're ready to go. And he'd been carrying the stretcher, so we put him on the stretcher, Alex says, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yeah, let's go." We stood up and the mortar round started. We dropped the thing and the body rolled off. Okay, put him back on there. We got up and started off again. More mortar shells. Dropped the stretcher, rolled the body off. We put him back on, and Alex says, "I don't know about you, but he says, I'm going to just run." He says, "You think you can make it?" And I said, "You better believe." So we put him on the stretcher. Then we were in the rice paddy, knee-deep water. And the mortar shells were splashing and would get sprayed with all that stuff. And for a little bit I counted there were 3 duds that were landed between me and Alexander right underneath underneath the stretcher. And then I said, "The piss out, I'm going to quit counting them." And we just kept going, but they were hanging on, and just bullets were going. How we ever made it out, I don't know, but we finally made it. It was probably 100 yards over to the tree line where everybody was at. We got there, and then mine says, "Okay, we're here. Don't know what else happened." All done.